Hey guys, welcome. I am just going to pull myself up on my iPad, which I completely lost track of time. So let me just pull myself up and make sure that everything looks good. Done. That everything looks good. You can also post and let me know. What in the world? My YouTube isn't working. You can post and let me know that you're here. Let me know your name, your dog's name, what's going on with you. And yeah, well, we're going to get started here in just a minute as soon as I can. Here we go. Pull myself up and make sure everything looks good. Let me know if you can hear me. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I think we're good. I think we're good to go. So I want to welcome you guys here this beautiful Sunday. We're having a pretty warm day, and we had a pretty chilly week in San Diego, and we're getting like a really pretty warm day today, so I'm excited for it. I have already, Jennifer, you just reminded me, I've already started the Patreon post for today. So as we go through and we talk about different things this morning, which we are talking about vaccines for your pets. So as we go through today, if I, tell you to check any links in the description, if you are on Patreon, I'm going to be providing all of this to you, so you don't have to worry about, pausing a video and checking out the links. I'm going to be sending all of this information to you, along with this downloadable PDF from Dr. Lori Kosher. I'm going to be actually adding this to our Google Drive file because it is that important. But I'll also give you the link where you can download it. So if you are not on Patreon, make sure you do check me out over on Patreon. You're going to get so much extra information over there on Patreon, so much like exclusive content that you're not getting anywhere else. And I know Jennifer is a Patreon member, so that just reminded me when I saw her name. JR is also here. He says, hello, like the dog blanket. Thank you so much. I have a lot of blankets in general. Yeah, I think it was maybe like fall of last year. So I have another YouTube channel, and on that channel I did a blanket decluttering video, which was, oh my gosh, so hard for me because I think I got rid of like more than half of the blankets that I owned, and I still have an insane number of blankets. I just really like blankets. I think probably because I'm just cold all the time. So if you're just joining, I see like a bunch of viewers. YouTube tells me like how many people are actually viewing the video, and that just keeps going up. So if you're just joining me, we are talking about pets and vaccines today. I was just reminding everybody that if you haven't already joined me on Patreon, make sure you do so. I already started today's post. So when I do these live videos on Sundays, I post the content on Patreon as well, but I go into even more detail and provide you with, if I talk about any links of anything today, I'm going to provide those to you. Jennifer says, me too, but not much room to store them other than the basement. Yeah, I know. I get you. I love my blankets, and I actually have a couple of blanket baskets in my living room. I don't have a whole lot of closet space either. So I have like a blanket basket in this closet in this room where I'm at. I have a blanket basket in my living room, and then I use a ton of blankets because I don't know if you guys have seen the videos that I probably, it's been at least a year ago that I did some videos on like how to keep your pet beds like newer or longer, and caring for them, especially when we buy like really expensive ones. Like I have a bunch that are actually pretty darn expensive, and I use blankets, and I wish I could show you. Kim is in her bed, so I can't pull her bed up, but I use them to keep the beds lasting longer and keeping them like newer for longer. I have had some pet beds for 8 years. And they still look amazing because I don't have to wash them as frequently because I'm using blankets on top of them. So I change out the blankets generally weekly unless they get dirty in between. So anyway, all of that is on my channel. But let's get into vaccines, because this is a really, really important topic and something that not, like, most people don't talk about. Though there are, like, increasingly more and more veterinarians coming out and saying, hey, we need to relook at these vaccine protocols, because a lot of vaccine reactions are occurring. A lot of pets are suffering. There are things we can do. We need to change the vaccine protocol. That's one thing. And these boosters every year, we need to talk about that too. Like, we need to address this. There is a better way. We just need to get people aware and educated about it. Jennifer says, Scout chews blankets, so I have to keep them away from them. It drives me crazy. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if he's like, I guess he could be chewing on them because he thinks maybe they're a toy, or he could be chewing on them just because they're like, it's comforting to him to do that. I guess it could be either way. So, all right, so let's get right into this. So I'm going to be giving you guys, let me start off by saying, and I did post this in the description of the video, y'all know I am not a veterinarian. I do not claim to be a veterinarian. I do not even play one on TV. But all of the information that I'm giving you guys today is from trusted veterinary sources. And I will be, like, everything I'm talking about, I have linked in the description below. But again, if you are a patron, if you're following me over on Patreon, I will be providing all of this information to you. You don't need to check the description. You're going to get it all later on today. So I've already started that post. I am hoping to get it to you, like, probably within, like, maybe 2 hours. So right after this video, I'm going to get lunch, and then I'm always, like, famished right after I do this video with you guys. Also, that just reminded me really quickly, let me know, post in the chat, or if you're watching this later on, post in the comments. I am considering moving this up half an hour. So right now it's 11:30. Well, it's 11:37 my time. I start this at 11:30 my time. I'm thinking about starting it at 11. Just to kind of, like, honestly, because I'm hungry. I'm hungry. So yeah, just to get, like, my schedule a little more balanced out on Sundays. And I'm also trying for you guys on Patreon. I know, Jennifer, you are over on Patreon. I'm trying to get these posts done quicker. I had every intention of getting it done for you guys yesterday. And I just was not feeling great yesterday. So I've already started it this morning. I'm going to get it to you right after this video. But the first thing we're going to talk about is a vaccine protocol. And again, this PDF is something that you can get by clicking one of the links in the description below. Or again, if you're on Patreon, I'm going to be sending this to you. This is from Dr. Lori Kosher, and she is a veterinarian behind the Healthy Dog Workshop. And she has released her 2021 canine vaccination protocol. And it is vastly different, I'm telling you guys, from what your puppies got. If you are getting a puppy soon, or JR says, I think you should eat 11 is fine. If you're getting a puppy soon, if you're considering getting a puppy, or even, if you're working with a rescue, or if you're working with a reputable breeder to get a puppy, or even, heck, if you volunteer with a rescue group, you can provide them this information and maybe, hopefully, change their protocol for puppies coming into them. But her vaccine protocol is vastly different from a traditional veterinarian's vaccine protocol because, veterinarians, they go to vet school, which is amazing. First of all, let's give it up for our veterinarians because they do so much. Like, they have to handle pretty much every other species on the planet outside of humans, right? Like, and there are avian veterinarians, and there are veterinarians who specialize in dogs. There are veterinarians that specialize in cats. There are veterinarians that specialize in farm animals. I get that, but going through vet school, they have to learn all of these animals and everything having to do with how to take care of all these animals. And then once they get into a practice, whether it's their own practice or they're working for a corporation or they're working underneath another veterinarian, it's like their schedule is grueling. And I know the veterinarian I use, she is a traditional veterinarian, and she just does, I've talked to her about it, she just does not have the time to put into learning things on her own. Like, there's continued education for them, just like there is for our medical doctors, but to figuring things out, like, I had a conversation with her one day, and I was like, I'm titer testing my dog. I'm not going to be over vaccinating my cats. And, she knows that I feed Kim a raw food diet, and that I have tried numerous times to feed my cats a raw food diet. And she knows, like, she's 100% on board with everything I'm doing. She knows it's the best thing for pets, for dogs, and for cats, but she literally was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't have time. She barely has time to see all the patients she has in a day. She's like, how am I supposed to educate all these people on top of it? And I get it. Like, first of all, in my heart, I'm like, but you need to. Like, where else are they? Like, you're a trusted source, so if you take this on, but I get it. Like, she just doesn't have the time for it. So, veterinarian comes out of vet school, and they are provided with, from drug companies, this is what a dog is supposed to have, this is what a cat is supposed to have. And especially if you go to a place like I hate to call them out, but they are what they are, like a Bainfield, or Petco's new clinic is called Thrive. If you go to a place like that, these are a lot of times, interns or veterinarians that literally just got out of vet school, and they're just trying to get some like on the job education done so that they can get into a better practice. They are provided with a checklist of what to do, and they don't deviate from it. And your pet is the one that suffers. So, if you are going to use a service like Banfield or Thrive Clinic or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter what it's regarding, whether it's regarding food, whether it's regarding vaccines, whether it's, allergy protocol, whatever it is, you are the one responsible for your pet. You are your pet's biggest advocate. So it is our responsibility to learn as much as we can, to have an educated conversation with our veterinarian, and to be able to say, you know what, I appreciate your medical opinion, and I'm going to take that into consideration, and I'm going to do my own research, and we'll get back with you. So don't feel pressured to do something right there in the minute, unless it's an emergency, of course. If there is an emergency, then that's, of course, we need to take them for, what they are, like, help my pet not die, right? Like, that's totally different. But just in a routine checkup, or, something non-life threatening, we have the opportunity to do the research, and we have so much information at our fingers anymore. Like, we have the internet. So learning how to use it, learning how to figure out what our trusted sources are and what maybe are not such trusted sources, that's on us. We have to do that, and it's our responsibility to do that, not only for ourselves, but for our pets. So I'm not going to go over this entire PDF. It is incredibly, you could read this in 15 minutes and be an insanely educated person walking into your veterinarian's office. So Dr. Lori Kosher is a veterinarian. She is an amazing veterinarian who is speaking out on a lot of the things that we really need to be aware of when we're walking into a veterinarian's office with our pet. So she has her vaccine protocol here for puppies, which, let me tell you guys, first of all, There isn't a single vaccine on here until a puppy is 10 weeks old. 10 weeks old is the very first time they should be getting a vaccine, and that's not even their rabies vaccine. Rabies vaccine doesn't even come until 22 weeks old. So if you're watching this video, or if you're coming on here to just say, oh, you're an anti-vaxxer, you need to shut up. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I am anti-over-vaccination. I am a pro-vaccination person. I just think we need to be more responsible in our vaccinations, because they do cause a lot of, there are a ton of really horrible vaccine reactions out there. I have had multiple animals have vaccine reactions, and one, in fact, our Chihuahua Gracie, who is no longer with us, she was actually my husband's dog when I met him, and she had a spot on her back right, I believe it was, leg, like this big, where no hair would grow. And I was like, what is that? And this was years ago, before I knew anything about anything. And he said that the vet, told him that it was just a reaction to her, one of the vaccines, because she got multiple vaccines at one time. So they didn't know which vaccine it was, but that she had a vaccine reaction, no big deal. Well, over time, and as she got older, literally from that spot on her hip, you could start feeling a growth inside of her that went all the way around, just like over time, over years, you could start feeling it grow, and it was growing and growing and growing. And it was not okay. She ended up passing away. We had to let her go because her body just was not, she had a collapse. It's a whole thing. I don't want to get into all of that. I don't want to dredge up all those feelings, especially right now. But vaccine reactions are real, and I am not the only one who has ever experienced them. So we need to be more proactive about appropriate vaccinations versus just blindly following a schedule. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the best practices on this sheet, which are amazing. I'm not going to go over all of them because you can actually get this from the Healthy Dog Workshop website yourself. And again, if you are one of my patrons, I'm going to provide this to you a little bit later on today. But let's talk a little bit. I just said, traditional veterinarians are just following this checklist of you get a vaccine at this age, this age, this age, and then every year after that you need boosters. So let's talk about a little bit about what's called duration of immunity. And a lot of veterinarians talk about this. Dr. Karen Becker talks about this, who I talk about her on my channel all the time, but I wanted to find other veterinarians because I am always referencing Dr. Karen Becker. And there are so many other veterinarians out there who are doing really amazing work, educating the public about more appropriate medical practices with our pets. Dr. John Robb, R-O-B-B, is pretty well known in the pet community. He has what is called Protect the Pets. And so he is very, very much, and he is actually one of the first veterinarians I heard about when I was introduced into titer testing, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later on in today's video. Kim actually recently got her titer testing done, and I said I wasn't going to do any videos on titer testing until we got all of her results in. I'm actually going to be doing a separate video all about titer testing and Kim's results that is going to go just a published video on my channel, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of sneak peek as to what titer testing is in this video. So Dr. John Robb in Protect the Pets is a great resource if you are just like, what are you talking about, Jessica? I need to go figure some of this out for myself. And I encourage you to do that. I'm not here to tell you do XYZ. I'm here to tell you I've learned this and you need to research it as well. That's how I feel about it. So Dr. John Robb, R-O-B-B, with Protect the Pets, has some really great information. But also Dr. Will Falconer, he is actually a homeopathic veterinarian, which is a little bit different. I think there are far fewer of these types of veterinarians than anything else. especially in the United States. He is semi-retired. He doesn't actually practice veterinary medicine in the US any longer. He currently resides in India, and he does a lot of work with their stray and rescue dog population. But I'm on his email list. I've taken a couple of courses of his because I'm very interested in, how the earth works, how we all live harmoniously in this ecosystem, on this earth, and like, do we need 100% of this junk that we're putting in our bodies? So that's incredibly fascinating to me, something that I am actively learning on. So homeopathy, or I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's how I say it, because I probably say things weird. Homeopathy, homeopathy, I'm not sure. I've heard it said a few different ways. I'm going to say homeopathy because that's just the easiest way for me to say it. But he's a homeopathic veterinarian. And so he has, and I've linked in the description again, if you're on Patreon, I'll send you all this information in just a little bit. So duration of immunity is something we need to talk about. So when you first get a vaccination, you're a puppy, let's say, or a kitten gets their very first vaccination. Generally, a traditional veterinarian is going to say you need to come back in a year and get a booster, and then a year after that and get a booster, and then a year after that and get a booster. Well, why are we not testing the actual duration of immunity? So when we get this vaccination, or when your pet is given this vaccination, it really is what it sounds like. There is a duration of immunity. So your body takes in that vaccine and produces, why are the words leaving my mouth? I'm going to have to look this up again. So your system, your dog system, your cat system, that vaccine provides a certain amount of immunity. So JR says, keep saying that. It's funny. Homie something. Yeah, I don't know if it's homeopathy, homeopathy. I have no idea. I say homeopathy just because it's the easiest thing for me to say. Anyway, so once you get a vaccine and your body, takes it in and utilizes that vaccine, and actually everything that happens in the body to produce immunity, that's the goal of the vaccine, right? So in a year, after you've had that vaccine, or after your cat has had that vaccine, after your dog has had that vaccine, where did these time frames come from? First of all, I'm maybe from some old science, but current science, what we know today, doesn't support just blindly getting boosters every year, because your dog or your cat could very well have immunity a year later, 3 years later, 8, 9, 10 years later, without getting any boosters. So why would we continue to put vaccines in our pet's body, knowing the adverse reactions that many pets have had, and that just grow in potential every time you get that vaccine? Why would we continue to do that? I actually asked my vet that one time, and she said, it's just so much cheaper to just get the vaccine. And I said, well, initially, okay, say a vaccine is $50, and to titer test for it is $100, $150. So yes, initially in the moment it's cheaper, but what are we doing? We are risking our pet's health. We're potentially risking our pet's lives. And on down the road, if our pet develops lameness, if our pet because our pet could develop so many things from trying to attack the vaccine, and in effect attacking different systems in their body, lameness or allergies. Allergies are a huge problem associated with even initial vaccines for pets, or for puppies. They have been found to cause cancer. That's actually a big thing. My vet, even though she is a traditional veterinarian, she told me many years ago, I had already told her I'm not getting any more vaccines for my cats. They're all indoor, but she told me, she said, if you have an indoor cat, I don't recommend vaccines anyway. And she's a traditional veterinarian. She said there's just too great of a risk for cancer and other adverse reactions. And I said, yeah, I'm not. First, I already knew I wasn't getting my indoor cats any more vaccines. Like, they've had plenty of vaccines in their lifetime. They're not at risk. They don't need any more, and they probably have immunity. I just haven't titer tested them. Kim, however, has had a few vaccines in her life. She's 7 years old now. I had her titer tested, and guess what? She has immunity to distemper, to parvo, to rabies. She has levels of immunity in her system, so why would I continue to vaccinate her? So when we talk about duration of immunity, some of these vaccines, the actual duration of immunity, first off, needs to be tested because every dog is an individual, but could potentially be lasting for up to 8, 9, 10 years. And again, that varies with different vaccines, and it varies with every animal individually. But, okay, so I just have somebody else come in. Their handle is Leave Me Alone, which is interesting. Says hello. So hello, this is a live video. If you have any questions about your pets, you can feel free to post them in the chat. Today we were talking about vaccines, and we were just talking about duration of immunity, which leads me to titer testing, which we kind of talked a little bit about already. But basically what we're doing is we are taking a blood draw. And I say we, like I'm not doing it and you're not doing it. Your veterinarian is doing it. Taking a blood draw from your pet and sending it off to a lab. Most veterinarians have access to do this because they work with labs to get lab work done all the time. It is generally pretty darn expensive to get it done through your veterinarian. You can certainly go that route. I used Hemopet, which is Dr. Jean Dodds, who is yet another amazing veterinarian, who is very active in educating the public about, just being more responsible, being more proactive in the medical health of your pet. So there are so many different things that you can titer for. And I just titered for what Kim was due for. She was due for distemper, parvo, and rabies. So we titered her for all three of those, and she showed significant immunity levels for all three. So why would I vaccinate her for those again? And yes, it was slightly more expensive than if I had just given her all three vaccines, but overall, well worth it. I didn't actually I didn't ask my veterinarian for the cost of the vaccines. I actually might do that just so that I can show the difference. Of course, every veterinarian is going to be a little bit different in their pricing structure, but I would be willing to bet you that I did not pay that much more because I used Hemopet to send, I mailed in her blood sample and they took it from there. And they provided me with the results. I had the distemper and parvo immunity levels within like 48 hours, and then it took a little over 2 weeks. I think it was somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks to get the rabies titer back. And it literally, because I did my research first, it wasn't that much more expensive than just giving her the vaccinations. And again, I would have just been blindly giving her these vaccinations when I now know that she already had immunity. So that's really in a nutshell what I wanted to talk about today. We are right about the 30-minute mark, which is what I try to do for these live videos. Again, if you are following me on Patreon, you're going to get this information, all of the links to everything I talked about today, a little bit later on. If you are not already following me on Patreon, check the first link in the description below and go ahead and follow me. I'm going to tell you, give me like just a moment. I'm going to give you yet another reason why you should be following me on Patreon, because in April we are having a giveaway. So hang in there with me. I just want to give you just one of the many best practices on Dr. Kozier's PDF, the download for vaccination protocol. Best practices for vaccination of dogs. And this is actually one that I tell people all the time and is one of like the easiest things to talk about with your veterinarian. Every single vaccination, every vial that comes in to your veterinarian's office, the packaging for those vaccines very clearly states that these vaccines, whatever vaccine it may be, is only intended for use in a healthy dog or cat. So if your pet has allergies, if your pet has food sensitivities, if your pet has a cough, if your pet is limping, if your pet has literally anything going on medically, they are ineligible for that vaccine, according to the vaccine manufacturer themselves. And that is actually the very first best practice here. From Dr. Lori Kosher. It says, in accordance with fundamental medical principles and vaccine manufacturers' recommendations, vaccinate only healthy dogs. This also applies to cats. If there is a health condition present, it should be addressed and the vaccine administered at a later date when the condition is resolved. So that is just one thing that I wanted to provide you with. Again, there are so many more on this PDF. So again, I know I've told you a few times today, if you are already on Patreon, like Jennifer is, you're going to get this as well as a lot more information on vaccine protocol and titering later on today, because I post on Patreon at least twice a week. If you are not already following me on Patreon, the link is in the description to do so. I highly recommend you do it because you get new and exclusive content over there that you don't get anywhere else. Additionally, in April, we are right now, today is April 18th, 2021. So you have, I recommend you join now. I have 4 different tiers on Patreon that you can choose from. Choose the one that is going to work the best for you. At the end of April, April 30th, I believe it, I think there are only 30 days in April, I am going to choose one person who is an active patron on Patreon to win a $50 gift card. It will be your choice of either an Apple gift card or a Google Play gift card, whichever one you would prefer. Yeah, so I have like a post on my Instagram and a post on my Facebook. If you want to go check out all of the like fine print or whatever, there really isn't much. I'm just giving back to you guys, but you do have to be an active patron. So if you have any questions, you can actually reach out to me about it. Check the post on either Instagram or Facebook if you want to learn more about what is actually going on. So what the giveaway is all about and the fine print for all of that, I definitely recommend you guys checking out my Patreon, because again, I post stuff there that I do not post anywhere else, and you get a bunch of really, really cool downloadables about dog training, about, you know, you're having dogs and cats living together, and there's so many downloadables that you get, as well as additional and, you know, new and exclusive content that you're not getting anywhere else. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today. If you do have any other questions, you can go ahead and post them in the chat now. I don't want to take up too much more time today. I think I got the bulk of the information out that I wanted to get out. But if you have any questions about it, let me know. Again, I think this is like one of the most important things we can talk about, because it's one of the like least talked about things. And there are so many wonderful veterinarians out there who are trying to...
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay, my watch randomly was like listening into me. Anyway, there are so many wonderful veterinarians who are actively out there trying to get good information out to people so that you can make better informed decisions for your pets. And, you know, vaccine protocol is just one of those things that they're talking about. But again, I wanted to provide you with additional veterinary resources, because I tend to I tend to give you guys Dr. Karen Becker as like a great resource, and she is a great resource. So I wanted to provide you with additional veterinary resources in this video, because it is such a kind of a hot button topic, right? Like, anyway, JR is saying that he's hungry and he's asking if I am, and I certainly am. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. JR says, thanks for doing these. They are helpful. I hope so, because I do hope they're helpful. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? Like, I want you and your pets to live a happier life together, a healthier life together. And, yeah. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post in the chat now, or you can post in the comments if you're watching this later on. I will get them. Jennifer says, thank you. Our vet does Vac for Life for one price. I was not happy with her last visit, so I think I'm going to change vets. We have several good vets in our area. That's amazing that you have some really good vets that you already know about in your area. And yeah, there are a lot of veterinarians that do that. Like, they get you in this like subscription model, so you feel like you have to keep going to them. But you know what? There is, and like I said at the beginning of this video, huge props to our veterinarians, because they do a really, really tough job. And I don't want to just blindly, vet bash. Like, that's not what I'm here for. But you are your pet's best and most of the time only advocate. So if you're not happy with the service that you're receiving, then please do look around, because it is just your pet's health is too important to feel like you can't speak up, to feel like you have to do whatever they say. Like, your pet is your pet. And yeah, so I applaud you, Jennifer, for doing that and for being brave enough to do that, because not everybody is. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Again, if you are following me on Patreon, you are going to get a lot more information on this, as well as this PDF from Dr. Lori Kosher. Yeah, so I will see you guys later. I'm probably going to be doing this at 11 next weekend, instead of 11:30. So we're going to give that a try. If you have any suggestions of other times that you would like to see these, let me know. You can reach out to me here on YouTube. You can reach out to me on Patreon. You can reach out to me on Instagram. Yeah. So here's wishing you and your pet a very happy, healthy rest of the weekend. I'll see you guys later. Bye.